Building alliances is a powerful way of showing that your enterprise is attractive to a millennial generation. Alliances, of course, are built on two things: shared goals, pragmatic goal, symbiotic benefit. Each party must feel they get a benefit. This is very attractive to millennials, but you have to add one more for them, and that is altruistic purpose. They want to see an alliance that is built for something more than bottom line profits. Come back to work that matters. Closing what Dr. Malcolm Johnson here calls the alignment gap, and I like that. That idea that, people are not aligned between their personal aspirations and the aspirations of the work, of the company, of the business. We've got to close that gap. It's a practical thing for you when it comes to building alliances. There are groups like Rockcore now that ask young people to donate time in order to win tickets, to earn tickets for major concerts. And companies now are buying into this idea that volunteering is cool. That's the slogan of Rockcore. And so Orange in Britain recently did a big concert at the Royal Albert Hall, aligned with Rockcore, so kids had to give up time in order to earn a ticket to get into the gig. 5,000 young people gave 20,000 hours to 41 charities across London. Very, very powerful thing for a corporate group to be doing, and really speaks to millennial generation. There's the One Difference campaign that uses the selling of water to pay for components of water pumps in Africa. And BT is heavily now aligned with the One Difference campaign. And it's the area where they put most of that 20,000 workdays I mentioned earlier for charity. Your company can do something similar. You can find some sort of enterprise like this that gets millennials off their backsides and doing something. They actually enjoy that challenge. They're looking for that altruistic challenge. It has benefits, all this, for your company, because the third sector can teach your company new skills. It builds team morale, because altruism carries its own reward. Martin Luther King said a human being hasn't begun to live until they can look beyond their own concerns and see the concerns of the broader humanity. Build a trust structure into your company. That's very attractive to millennials. Flexible work practices are so important to them because it demonstrates trust. See, the very technology that has made flexibility possible is also being used now to challenge the whole idea of privacy. In fact, in some ways, what we used to call privacy no longer exists. But if you rob people enough of their privacy, you rob them of their motivation. And so if there are 1 in 14 cameras in the streets of the UK, by the way, only 3% of crime in the UK is solved using CCTV cameras. So you can't argue the case from security. If society doesn't trust the people, it's not long before the people reciprocate. And trust breaks down in reverse. And that's where you have social unrest. The same can happen in a company. So many employers now, 75% in America, companies regularly monitor emails of their employees. 30% track keystrokes. They use deep packet encryption, the thing the government uses in America to track words in emails that suggest terrorist activity. Some companies now use that within the corporate structure to track what their employees are saying and spot key words that concern them. Listen, that's not going to help you when it comes to millennials. They are built for trust. They want to be trusted. They aspire to be trusted. Firm accountability structures. They need structure. Remember that. This is a generation that needs structure because it's had it from the time it was born. Every hour of the day has been allocated to learning this and then doing this and going to this football match and, then going off to the club. Structure's important. Some millennials have very big trouble now actually looking after their own free time as adults because they've never had unstructured time in their lives before. So structure's important. But when you give them structure, you've got to make sure your facts are straight. They have no tolerance for ignorance. You've got to make sure that you avoid credibility gaps. If you've got a line manager who is less well educated than the millennials they lead, make sure the line manager knows how to show expertise in other ways to avoid credibility gaps. And give them constant feedback. I didn't say constant affirmation. I don't mean stroking of the ego. I mean constant, fair, well thought out feedback. This is a generation that thrives. It hates micromanagement. It doesn't like you looking over their shoulders. But it loves you to give them feedback of one form or another. Do you know studies have shown if you put your millennials in one place in the workspace and let them work in that space, they'll do better than if they're separated. Why is that? Because they love feedback. They feed off the buzz of one another. If you have children as I do in their early 20s, you know what I'm talking about. They love feedback from their peers as well as their overseers. By the way, in brainstorming sessions, this is not a generation that's going to be quiet and polite. They were taught from the time they were small to speak up. We want to hear what you have to say. We value your input. So don't be offended by that. Mentoring is important. Don't want to spend time on that today because there are others that have no doubt spoken to each of you about that. But reverse mentoring is also important. Procter & Gamble are doing this. Microsoft's doing this. Having sessions and structured periods where millennials are mentoring older workers. Because there are things millennials know better, like digital technology, like viral communication, social networking, and the like.